So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to the July Clinton Region Business Roundtable. We do these monthly. We always bring in guests that have a deep-rooted knowledge or subject matter experts of cool things that are happening throughout our region to grow and develop our community, not only in population, but also in workforce. Today we have with us the Future Ready Iowa Policy Advisor, Kathy, is it Leggett?
Leggett, yes.
Leggett. Perfect. Nailed it for the first time. I'm excited about this because Future Ready Iowa is something that's been around for a long time. And we want to know, not only is it an initiative to grow and develop our workforce across the state of Iowa, but what's the substance behind it? How can employers take advantage of Future Ready Iowa? And how can our businesses and also those elected officials and influencers throughout our region continue to promote the Future Ready Iowa message? Again, my name is Andy Sokolovich from the Clinton Regional Development Corporation. I serve as the Vice President of Economic Development, and I will be your host today. If you have any questions, if you scroll your mouse down to the bottom of your screen, you'll see on the MS Teams window, there is a conversation bubble there. It says show conversation. You can type your question in there, and I will go ahead and direct it to Kathy. You can also click the little raise hand icon. That basically means, just like going back to grade school, you raise your hand to ask a question, and I'll make sure I call you out. I will ask you to do me a favor and go ahead and mute your microphones if you are not speaking. That way we can avoid any kind of background interference. So now that I got all that stuff out of the way, I'd like to introduce Kathy Leggett, again, the Future Ready Iowa Policy Advisor. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Let's see, I am going to try and share my screen here.
Okay.
And let me get this pulled up.
Yeah, go ahead. No rush. This always reminds me of that Progressive commercial. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet, where the one guy's using a vacuum in the background, the other person's talking to somebody over her right shoulder, the other lady's got her face like 2 inches from the camera. So we're all growing.
Can you see this?
I cannot, no.
Okay. Hang on. No. I'm trying here. It's on my screen, so.
Okay, no worries. We'll see if we can get it going here.
I'm not sure. Yep. Let me see.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? How about you go ahead and email me your presentation if you're able to do that real quickly.
Sure.
I can do it on my end, and then I can just forward the slides as you deem appropriate. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, if you can multitask, maybe you can just give us a general overview, 10,000-foot perspective of what Future Ready Iowa is.
I can do that. So I'm going to do this really quick. Email you. Compose. Sorry. I'm going to attach this. Promise, folks, I'm up here.
It's all good. We all go through the same thing every
It makes me so nervous then.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. Attaching. Okay, this should be coming to you, Andy. I'll go. So, all right. Okay, so I can just go ahead and talk now?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so Future Ready Iowa, and I recognize some people may have more knowledge about it than others, but I'm hopeful that this update, even if you are familiar with it, will provide you with something new and maybe some about it. And also what I wanted to say as well is happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for having me on your Friday and going into the weekend. Future Ready Iowa is actually a state initiative to bring education, workforce, economic development, and all of those efforts closer together and align towards the same goal. So bringing partners together to get us to, in Iowa, to have 70% of Iowans with education and training beyond high school by 2025. And you are correct that it has been around for a while. I've been in this position about 2.5 years, but there was much work that went ahead of me to come up with recommendations and do a lot of research about how Iowa was going to do this. What did we need to do? And that's what I'm going to cover in my presentation. It was back in 2017 when an alliance of about 65 people from across the state, all different stakeholder groups who were involved, worked together for almost a year to come up with these recommendations about what we need to do to be future ready in Iowa and to meet our workforce demands and really provide those great career options for people in Iowa. So they worked and they came up with 5 recommendations. And what their recommendations now are what we call strategies and the things that we need to work toward to get to that goal of 70% of Iowans having education and training beyond high school. Let's see. Okay, so where we are now, and I do like to level set just a little bit to say, and you are all aware just as much as we are that things have changed rapidly with COVID. So I'll talk a little bit about COVID too, but just as a reminder, if we go back in December, Iowa's unemployment rate was 2.7%. And so we had about 47,000 people unemployed at that time, and we had 63,000 job openings. So part of Future Ready Iowa also is saying, how do we get those folks who are yet unemployed into these high demand jobs that we need? So that is and was a huge focus for Future Ready Iowa. Just to fast forward, amid COVID in May, our unemployment rate was 10%, which had come down, thankfully. In May, that meant that we had 168,100 people unemployed, and we had at that time, we had 54,000 job openings in Iowa on our job board. So that has kind of stayed, it actually went up a little bit, but it's kind of stayed similar. And now this last month, our unemployment rate came down to 8%. So things are going in a good direction. But even if we get to the part of having low unemployment again, Future Ready Iowa really is focused on what are the barriers keeping those other folks out, and can we get them in to fill our jobs? So keep that in mind. The next thing I like to always talk about is why Future Ready Iowa. I usually like to give people 3 reasons, because the question is, why should we do this, or why did this happen? And why is it important? Number 1 is because it's projected that 68% of the jobs in Iowa will require education and training beyond high school by 2025. That was a study done by the Georgetown University for Education and Business, and that's their projection. And really that's where I believe Governor Branstad looked at that and said, then our goal is going to be 70% of people having that education and training. So that's one really important reason. Second really important reason is that we have a skills gap in Iowa, and it's mainly in that middle skill area. And when I say middle skill, what I'm talking about is those jobs that require some education and training beyond high school, somewhere between, it could be a certificate, it could be an apprenticeship card, up to a 2-year associate's degree. We have currently 53% of the jobs in Iowa that's the type of education and training that's required for them. But when we look at the workforce, we only have 34% of our workers who have that type of education and training. So that is where our huge job gap is. So Future Ready Iowa, working to try and get folks who have entry-level skills and are those entry-level jobs, to get them upskilled into those areas that we know, again, are high demand in Iowa, and that takes some of that additional education and training. We're pretty closely matched on what would be deemed high skill jobs, which are the ones that require a bachelor's degree or above. In Iowa, about 35% of our jobs require that, and we have 38% of our workers with that type of education. So we have, and then if we round it out with those entry-level jobs, those are about 12% of the jobs in Iowa, and we have about 28% of our workforce with those entry-level skills. So really trying to flip in that 28% up to that middle skill job work with Future Ready Iowa. Andy?
I do have your slide deck up now. We're just viewing that pie chart that breaks down the percentage of low skill, middle school, and high skill. So just let me to advance to the next slide.
Yep, then I think we're on, go to the next, because then I think you'll see the percentage of the jobs that are in that, and then the percentage that I just talked about with how many people we have in that.
Yep, we're right there.
Yep. So first, recommend, or it looks like we're going to have 68% of our jobs requiring education and training. Second, we have a skills gap, especially in that middle skills area. And then thirdly, if you'll go to the next slide, percent of employers, every year when the labor market division here at Iowa Workforce does their survey of employers, it typically comes out for several years that applicants, as you can see, 56% of the respondents, of the employer respondents, say applicants lack the qualifications that they need. Second behind that is then that general lack of applicants. So we always get into do we just need to bring more people to Iowa, or do we need to address the Iowans that we have here? And we need to do both. And there are efforts to do both, but Future Ready Iowa is focused on Iowans. Which you all would imagine are familiar with, is the efforts through economic development to get individuals to realize what a great place Iowa is and to move here. So we have efforts in both areas, but Future Ready Iowa is focused on those who are here. And so again, the third reason is that we know that employers are not finding the applicants that have the skills that they need. So Future Ready Iowa exists for all of those reasons, to try and address those situations in more, and really build a strong workforce pathway for everyone here. So to go back to the Future Ready Iowa goal, 70% of Iowans having that post-secondary education or training by 2025. Now this initial goal of 139,000 was probably set 2 years ago. That was the estimate of the number of people in Iowa that we need to get education and training beyond high school by 2025 in order to meet this goal. So that we break that down into three categories. Basically, we have the 37,000 around that. We had targeted as returning adult students, because that's a whole target audience in itself, as we have many Iowans who started education, could have started an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, anything like that, and somewhere along the way things changed and they didn't complete it. So how can we do work to get them back and get a degree completed for them, and ideally in a high demand career? Next are our traditional students. Now the challenge with this is our traditional students coming out of high school anymore, as we get closer to 2025, are not going to actually count towards that 70%, because that 70% is Iowans in the workforce ages 25 to 64. I don't want to get a lot into the numbers, but that's the way it was done. But what I come back to the traditional students is that this is an incredibly important population to be building these pathways for, because we want to have ways for our students to successfully get into Iowa's workforce. So although they won't maybe count toward that, it is an incredibly important part of Future Ready Iowa, because that's the future. So we have about 44,000 of traditional students in Iowa that were geared when this work first came out. But then you can see the largest population is the over 57,000, and that's our adults in Iowa that have no education or training beyond high school now. And we have, so it's our biggest population. It's also our most challenging population, because these folks they're working already. They have multiple responsibilities. It's not likely they can stop and just go back to school. And so how do we support them getting the education and training needed to not only keep their jobs, but to continue to fill those jobs in the future? So I had pulled up, we had done, based on that 139,000, we had done some formula, population-based formula, to just give counties an idea of what part of that 139,000 might be their area. And again, this is just an estimate, and you can look at it a lot of different ways. But I really wanted to take that number and break it down a little bit to make it a little more workable for people across the state. And when we use the percent of population in Clinton County age 25 to 64, and take that in combination with 139,000, it really comes out to be a little over 2,000 adults in that area in your county to look to try and get upskilled, and that was starting in 2018. So that was just kind of a baseline number that I wanted to share. So where are we? If our goal is 70% as a state, where are we now? And this next slide shows you that we are at 60.2%. It's the most current labor shed study for Iowa. And then below you can kind of see where we were. We were at 58, then we went down to 57, now we're at 60. It's a fluid number because people retire from the workforce and then that takes them out. And maybe they did have education or maybe they didn't. People move into the state and move out. So there's a lot of things that affect that. But basically we're at 60.2% right now. And you can see on the side there that we have trade certificates, vocational training, associate's degree, all of those things that make up that 60.2%. So we're moving in the right direction, but we still have work to do. So some of the strategies, and that's where I want to talk about, these would be some of the things that would be available to employers, to collaborations, groups working together to try and make it possible for people to get training and education. And so these are some of the next things I'm going to go over, some of the funding strategies for that. We have the Last Dollar Scholarship, the Future Ready Iowa Grant Program, and the Employer Innovation Fund. Those were kind of the first three and the biggest funded pieces to help us reach this goal. So, excuse me, Last Dollar Scholarship. This program funds post-secondary credentials up to an associate's degree in high demand occupations. And that was funded last year at a little over $13 million. The target is for high school graduates and adults. The thing that I love about it is it's not income means tested. And so, for example, you might have somebody in your workforce or as an employee who really would like to get one of these post-secondary credentials at our area community colleges or some of our private ones that have eligible programs. And maybe they've been working for a while and they make enough money, they would not qualify for any financial aid, but they don't have thousands of dollars sitting around to go back to school. The Last Dollar Scholarship, all you have to do to apply is complete a FAFSA and then pick your eligible program at the school. And then the Last Dollar Scholarship will be applied. And it's last dollar because if you are eligible for non-repayable scholarships and grants, that will be applied first. But if you are not eligible for that, the Last Dollar Scholarship will pay all tuition and mandatory fees for your education to get that degree. And so great opportunity for folks to go back and upskill or change careers to get a more a job that's going to be here for a while in a high demand area. So as we want individuals to consider this. We want employers to say, hey, is this an opportunity for people who you employ to get a little higher level skilled training that you need? So it's a great opportunity. It's gone well. The first year you can see that we had over 6,000 Iowans who received support from the Last Dollar Scholarship and provided over the $13 million. And then this is just a little bit of a breakdown of the area community colleges, how many recipients they had and what dollar amount they were awarded. And I think I looked and I think Eastern Iowa Community College is your area. So you can see there that 441 people benefited from the Last Dollar Scholarship at Eastern Iowa Community College. And this is just kind of a record of the other programs. This excuse me, is just showing you a list of the high demand occupations where training is supported for the Last Dollar Scholarship. And we have all of the programs that are eligible are on the Future Ready Iowa website. So if you haven't been on that, definitely encourage you to check it out because you can go to the community college in your area and see what programs are all eligible for the Last Dollar Scholarship. And there are quite a few. Excuse me, I haven't done presentations for quite a while, so I apologize, I'm a little bit rusty and obviously having a little bit of a cough. So next is the Employer Innovation Fund. This is really set up to be a flexible opportunity for employers specifically, but we've had employers, we've had community organizations, educators, all working together to apply for these grants. Last year, 1.2 million was funded by the legislature for the Employer Innovation Fund, and I'm hoping for the same. We still haven't heard, and I'll talk about that before we finish here. But anyway, this is designed, basically the focus for Employer Innovation Fund is to support education and training in high demand careers. This is where your non-credit programs can come in, because the Last Dollar Scholarship is only right now 4 credit programs. So like CDL training, CNA training, short-term certificates in any number of high demand areas. This can be used to pay for that. So it's used to get education and training for folks, and it's also used to address the barriers, because what we know, especially, well, and this will still exist now, is that many folks who are not in the workforce yet have additional barriers, maybe beyond what the average person has. So do they need support with their childcare, why they're getting education and training? Do they need transportation support? Do they need support to get books? Any type of things like that is what the intent of the Innovation Fund is, as well as supporting the education and training. So you can kind of see a little information there. It is a matching fund. So the way it works is employers or consortiums have X amount of dollars cash up front to support the program, and they're requesting a match by the state. We've been able to do pretty well, match 100%, sometimes not quite that much depending on how much money we had. But for example, many companies in our first round did a $50,000 request, and the state matched them $50,000 to implement their project to increase education and training for folks. So this is a really flexible option for employers, and this is a map of where those Employer Innovation Funds, the 2019 recipients were. And I don't think we had any in Clinton County, so I would love to have a project or two, excuse me, submitted in Clinton County, from Clinton County this time. It's a notice of funding, so it's an application. We make it as easy as possible because we really want employers to engage in it. And I know that you have so many other things to do than to write a grant and submit a lot of reports. So we have made this fairly simple. And so I definitely want to put that out there as something that you're thinking about. And again, I'll come back to it at the end. We also have a Childcare Challenge Fund that was approved by the legislature. The infrastructure was approved this last session. Again, I'm waiting to see if there's funding in that Childcare Challenge Fund. And I hope to know soon, but just so you're aware of it, that this was designed to also be a matching fund for childcare center infrastructure. Applicants could be consortiums, collaborations who are working to solve the childcare issue related to workforce. And this is also a matching grant, and I believe it's approved up to $100,000. So hopefully, I don't have rules for it or anything yet, but hopefully soon we'll be learning more. Other funding I wanted to make sure that you know is available is registered apprenticeship funding. Under Future Ready Iowa, there is a startup fund, and employers can receive up to a reimbursement of up to $25,000 of expenses for starting a registered apprenticeship program in a high demand field. And new this last session is an ongoing support fund for small to medium registered apprenticeship programs for 1 to 20 apprentices in high demand fields. So there's some ongoing support available there. And then the larger registered apprenticeship program that we had before in 15B. And then another one that I wanted to make sure people know about is that we do have a summer youth internship pilot project, really geared at those the individuals who, again, have more of those barriers, our minority populations, our low-income populations. And this grant pays reimbursement to organizations and employers who will set up quality summer internship programs for these youth and get them recruited. So there will likely be another application February of 2021 for that. One that I wanted to mention that is I'm really excited about that happened this summer. Even we had some push, so we had to delay some things because of COVID, but Metro Pavers has done a really awesome internship for youth in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area, and they're getting paid great wages and they're getting great training and mentorship on the job. So happy to share any of those examples as well. So so funding is one strategy. The next two strategies, yes.
Yeah. Why don't we just take a quick pause here and see if there's any questions from the group? As I'm sharing my screen, I'm not able to see if there's any questions in the chat right now. So if you have a question for Kat, I encourage you to unmute your mic and just ask it.
Yeah.
This is Amber from Nestle Purina. One question that I did have was around how these scholarships or internships communicated within our community. So if I was an at-risk youth person, how would I know about this summer youth internship? Is that just based on you having conversations with employers around Iowa, or what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so really part of the application process for the Summer Youth Internship Program is the individuals who are applying have to talk about how they are going to connect with the youth in their community. So many of them partner with a community-based organization or their local schools to get the word out through those organizations for the youth to know. So it is kind of, it's really a local and what is going to work best and what relationships do you have to get these individuals enrolled. So, but I would say by and large, always a relationship with either the education system there and or the community-based organizations that they know work with at-risk youth.
Okay, so if I'm hearing that right, what you're saying is like a high school or a college or something like that would have this information already, and they would just say, hey, by the way, are you aware of summer youth internship? Is it something like that?
It would be like, so for example, the Metro Pavers, they worked with the high schools in the area to talk with the counselors and the other folks to say, we are going to be offering this internship. They did a flyer. And so that the people working with the students could make the students aware. I think they also did social media to say, hey, apply if you're interested in this. Another group that has had an internship program is a nonprofit organization, which is St. Vincent de Paul. And so they have been the place that organizes the internship because they do the soft skills training and all of that. And they partner with employers to then get the on-the-job training for the students. So so when it's a nonprofit, for example, Goodwill did one in 4 different locations. They have access to quite a few students that are in those populations because they're trying to work with them on an ongoing basis. So there isn't one way to do it, but it is part of the plan is how are you going to recruit students? So it's different everywhere.
Erin Cole, I see you have a question.
Yes, thanks. I was just curious, you were talking about the registered apprenticeships and you were referring to like 15A, B, or C. I wasn't familiar with that. Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. And my hope was if from this presentation, if anyone who is listening or is like, hey, I want to know more about that, then please reach out to me because I can really, give you a lot more information. I can connect you with people who can specifically help you with that because it's kind of like confusing. But 15B is, or is it 15C? I get it mixed up. Okay, so 15C is the funding that came with Future Ready Iowa a year ago. And all of the registered apprenticeship funding that I mentioned on that slide is run through the Iowa Economic Development Authority. So they're the ones who manage those grants. They're the ones who help people apply for them and do technical assistance to folks to get those. So the 15C one was the new one, and that was to encourage new registered apprenticeships in high demand careers. And so if you were to start a registered apprenticeship and have one apprentice registered in it by the end of this year, then in January, through the Economic Development Authority, you could apply for that reimbursement funding for starting that registered apprenticeship. So then you could get reimbursed for your startup costs up to $25,000. Then what just came this past year in legislation was, and that's where I put the 15C kind of plus, is that they then did a fund that will help provide some ongoing support per apprentice for those small to medium size. So 1 to 20, if you have 1 to 20 registered or 1 to 20 apprentices, then you can apply after that startup funding. You can apply for ongoing funding each year, a certain amount of money per apprentice to help support that program that you have. The 15B is the one that I think I listed third on there, and I think that's 15B. Now that's a pot of $3 million that has been around for quite a while to support registered apprenticeships throughout the state. It is not related to high demand careers, so these other two are related to high demand occupations. So it's been ongoing funding, but the challenge has been as we grow apprenticeships, that pot of money has stayed the same. And then sometimes there are advantages to really large organizations that have many, many apprenticeships and get a lot of money versus a smaller one. So that one's been around for a while, ongoing support. The other two, the 15C and C plus, are the ones that have come out under Future Ready Iowa to try and encourage the high demand careers and support small to medium sized apprenticeships. So as far as how much is available, I mean, up to the 25 for the start. The other one is based on a formula, and definitely I can connect you with the person who coordinates that or anyone who's interested to get the specifics. And the other thing that I will say is they are very helpful in getting those applications filled out for people. Really, I think even last year went proactively to anybody that we knew started a registered apprenticeship in a high demand field to try and say, hey, this money is available. Can we get you to fill out an application? So definitely worth investigating. And like I said, I'm happy to connect people so that you can get more specific information on how to do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. Now, we have a registered apprenticeship through our Clinton High School here for welding specifically. Are they able to apply for funding as well?
They could probably apply if it's already started. If they just started it this year, then they should be able to apply for the up to $25,000 to get reimbursed.
Okay.
And then that you can only get one time, but then after that, if they stay in the 1 to 20, then they should be able to apply for that ongoing funding. So yes, so we definitely want to know when did they start, and will they be eligible for that money in January, and then how do they get connected to that ongoing fund? So yes.
Perfect. Thank you. And a shameless plug, if you're interested in setting up a registered apprenticeship, contact the Clinton Regional Development Corporation. We have local regional subject matter experts as well as Kathy that can guide you through the process. It's not that difficult. All right, Kathy, there's no further questions. We'll go ahead and switch back over to the slide deck and keep going.
Okay, thank you. So the next two strategies, one, and I just broadly put it on in here, is to prepare students for a changing world. One thing that I just like to share is this photo, which I completely stole from Cedar Rapids School District. But I love it because I think it really helps people see when we talk about how we need to change, help people change for the future. This is kind of where we're stuck. And I don't mean stuck, but I mean this has been the traditional. Student A has been the traditional. You're in class every day. You're learning math, science, English, social studies. But where we need to get is student B, which is content mastery. Because yes, you have to know math, you have to know reading, you have to know some of all of those things. But in today's world, the skills that the employers often say, and this is what we're leading back to the reasons for Future Ready Iowa, that they have applicants come, but they can't demonstrate critical thinking. They aren't good they don't have good communication skills, collaboration, creativity, all teamwork, just all of those things that are really imperative to the work world now and will continue to be in the future. And I refer to those as transferable skills because things are changing so fast. Those are the skills that everybody needs to have so that they can continue to adapt and learn as technology and everything else changes in our workforce atmosphere. So that kind of connected that. And one great way, that was a great segue with the registered apprenticeship at the high school, one great way to help kids get these skills in real time is to expand work-based learning. So that's another strategy, is getting quality work-based learning opportunities for all of the kids in our school system. We have some great things happening in Iowa. We have a lot of opportunity yet, though, to make these opportunities available to all students. Again, great things happening, but really a long way from this being an opportunity that all students have. So we have to keep working on it. And that would include the quality pre-apprenticeships, registered apprenticeships, as we mentioned internship programs, a lot of focus on internship programs. And then there are, again, several resources that you can access to help get involved in this. And that's, again, where, if somebody, like you said, Andy, you guys have a great resource for registered apprenticeships. Anytime any questions come up on any of these and you're looking for somebody can reach out to me because I can connect you because there is help out there. And the thing about work-based learning is those opportunities are not available if we don't have employers who can engage. And again, so know that employers have their hands full with everything, so we try and provide technical support to make it easier. But developing these type of programs not only helps the students who need that skill development, but can be a great conduit for employees at your workplaces. So we have, I don't know if you guys are on here, you must be a new, oh yeah, you are, Clinton Community School District, there we go. Registered high school apprenticeships, we actually have 21 now, this says 17. And it is a firm focus of Future Ready Iowa and other initiatives to get registered apprenticeships set up in high schools. This is a great option for many students who really like to learn hands-on and excuse me, for whom the 4-year college path isn't the path they're going to go to right now. It doesn't mean they never will, but part of the Future Ready Iowa also, in my mind, is changing that conversation about what are those options after high school. I feel that we have had a clear culture of it being that the 4-year degree is the only option. And I don't say that to offend anybody. I have a 4-year degree and I have 2 master's degrees. So I love education. And I was actually one of those parents who thought that's what had to happen, is you went to high school and you went to college. Well, my kids' lives didn't work out that way. And having this job, I have just learned so much about all of the options that are available to students. And I feel that we have to really make those part of a continuum of choosing, and we have to celebrate all of them because every child that way can find their path. And there are so many post-secondary education opportunities. Earn as you learn is one that I think is really great. And this just shows some of the pre-apprenticeship programs that high schools and others have done. I want to make sure that people know we have a clearinghouse for work-based learning, this is to hopefully make these opportunities available to students all across the state. It is where businesses post projects and then schools pick them up and actually do them and work with the business. So it's definitely something to check out if you're interested in that. Finally, want to get to, I'm so sorry for my cough. I just haven't talked out loud for months, I feel like. So strategy is, and this is the core of it, is engaging the business community and other local or other regional collaborations to develop a strategy that works for your area. So what we really want you to be able to do is say, what programs can we leverage, which some of those programs that I talked about before, so you want to have those in mind. What can we leverage, and any other programs in your area? And then what pools of potential employees do we have to draw from? So some of those pools that we've been highly focused on in Iowa are, number one, Iowans with disabilities. That has been the largest pool of people that we have for employers to draw from, and the disabilities range greatly. But there is help through voc rehab, and people can help with job training. There are people through voc rehab who can come and look at your the work that is done at your organization and say this would be a great opportunity for someone with a disability. So it takes a little extra work, but the payoffs are huge. And so we really want to get many of our Iowans with disabilities into the workforce. Lots of focus also on offender reentry. So those individuals coming out of our Iowa corrections system. The correction system is working really hard to get training to many of those individuals as possible. And the thing that we know is that the most important factor for them in reducing recidivism is that they get a good job. And so definitely working with employers who are willing to take those individuals and employ them after coming out. And we have a lot of employers who are doing a great job of it. We just want to increase it because that is a huge pool of employees who we want to have in our workforce. Next group is those high school students I mentioned. Now, even though they won't count toward the goal, that's not the point. The point is that we have a lot of opportunity. This is the way I look at this. So, for example, in 2018, out of 37,000 seniors enrolled, we had a 91.4% graduation rate, which is awesome. And Iowa always celebrates we have the highest graduation rate in the United States, and it's great. And it's a lot of hard work on a lot of people to get us there. What we need to do also, though, is take a step back and look at a bigger picture because we graduate that many doesn't mean that many are going into post-secondary education or have plans. So here, for example, 78% of those had intent to pursue a post-secondary education leading to a credential or a degree. And that was at the end of school, their senior year. Within 1 year of graduation, 66% actually enrolled in a program. And so that points us to these 7,500 students who didn't have specifically a post-secondary intent. So those are a lot of potential employees if we can get them connected with employers. And then 3,800 students dropped their post-secondary plans between May and August for any number of reasons. So I think that the high school graduates are a huge opportunity for us to get individuals enrolled in even training at your workplace as part of orientation, into apprenticeships, into earn and learn, into making these options available to them. I did pull this. We have the same database type of information from AEA Prep, and they've worked with us to try and get it broken down by county. So this is just a little specific look, a snapshot at Clinton County, where the graduates, 81% had intent to get post-secondary education and training. At least that's what they indicated. Within a year, 62% had actually enrolled, and within 6 years, 43% had completed some sort of credential. Then when you look at the population that receives free and reduced lunch, you can see there are definitely differences here. And again, that's where we want to try and reach the students who maybe don't have as many opportunities as other students. So I just wanted to share that. Other place you want to look is consider upskilling your current employees. We have employees who have been great employees. Maybe they don't have training and education beyond high school, but maybe if the opportunity was made available to them, they can move up and fill some of those skill needs that you have in your employment, and you can open up some entry-level opportunities for others. So that's one area also is current employees that we want to look at. And then the Iowans facing multiple barriers to training and employment. This is just a little information that we definitely have employment disparities where we would have, and this was pre-COVID. So when we had a very low unemployment rate in Iowa, you can see that these populations had quite a bit higher unemployment rate. So what do we need to do to make a more successful transition for individuals in these populations to get into the workplace. And then now I add to that the individuals who have become unemployed during COVID-19. There's been some information through Gallup and Strata Education. They've done a great job surveying people during COVID, and what some of their information has shown is that adults are, due to this, they are considering job changing, changing careers. But one of the biggest barriers for them to getting training is that they are fear. Fear is like 60% of them indicated that as the highest barrier because they're afraid they won't be successful. Also, it's scheduling that works for them, and then cost, of course, comes in there. So all of these things are things that we want to continue to think about. A few things in the context of COVID-19. Because of the pandemic and the work that has had to be done for Future Ready Iowa funding, I'm waiting to hear about timelines for like the Innovation Fund and how much money will be available, and then when we can put that out and start awarding things. We've been advocating for non-credit training program support because I think amid COVID, we have people out of work, and if we can provide accelerated training opportunities to them, that can really link to getting in the door in a high demand career. That's what we need to be focusing on with wraparound supports, because there will be folks who need some help but can then successfully do that and move on. I think that some things that have been highlighted in conversations are even more of the need to partner with community-based organizations who offer those wraparound services. And sometimes that's harder, or maybe you don't know who to work with. But again, there's technical support and resource people who can help. Remote work and remote training, obviously, that came fast and furious. I am aware of some programming that's available to train remote workers so that they're more efficient. It's a certificate program, and also to help train supervisors how to supervise remote workers, because we're probably going to be doing that for a long time into the future now. And then there's as you're probably well aware, the governor has an economic recovery task force working right now, and really looking at a lot of different areas and coming back and making recommendations. So that's kind of where things are right now. And then just lastly, I wanted to say in the end, local solutions for local challenges, that's what we have always felt. Future Ready Iowa is a grassroots effort. We're trying to make some resources available, but then have all of you collaborating with each other in your area to figure out what your needs are, and then what are the resources that could help you do that. So continue to consider those populations and resources available. Please reach out for technical assistance, even if it was somebody like, hey, I'm willing to, look at hiring people with disabilities. I just don't know the next steps to take. Any of those questions, reach out, because there are people to help. And then hopefully we'll start a webinar series for employers again on some of these topics, especially on the funding things available coming up. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, the website usually has some good information, and we try and post anytime we have something new on there. And then as conversations have gone around COVID and different different group conversations I've been in, I just wanted to mention that some of the hot topics have been mentorship, is employers assigning mentors to new employees to really help them get things going and know how to problem solve in workplace situations so that hopefully they keep them. And then again, the partnering with community-based organizations, and then communication. I really hope we can learn and find ways to do better communication for all the opportunities that are available through Future Ready Iowa and other programs. One of the challenges has been with Future Ready Iowa, and I'm grateful for all of the funding that is provided, is that we do not have any dollars for communication. So we try and do it in a very grassroots way. We're trying to hype up our social media, always looking for opportunities to share the message, because it's hard to get the message out there. So that's really all I have for now. Sorry I kind of took so long, and sorry I coughed so much, but please, I really just want to say, if there's anything that grabbed you, or about any of these funding opportunities, any of these connections, best practices, if you're trying to solve something, I may have known somebody else in the state who's doing it, I can connect you with. So please ask the questions and reach out. And with that, I'll finish. Thank you, Andy.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. That was a great presentation. You covered everything. Yes, to answer Kathy's question, another Kathy in the chat room, this will be available after this presentation. I will make sure I send out the recording as well as the slide deck and Kathy's contact information. Kathy, I do have two questions.
Sure.
One, kind of in the same vein as you were describing earlier with the fear, fear of losing money, fear of not being interested in pursuing an additional career, fear of it's actually going to work out. Here in Clinton County, we've created something to kind of mitigate all that, and it's known as the Manufacturing Awareness Program, and it's actually 100% online, no cost. So the entire cost of tuition and the admin side of things are covered by corporate sponsorships. And it's
Awesome.
25 hours of manufacturing-focused online education to include OSHA, forklift safety, management trainings in there, training on metals, some basic electric type stuff. So I will slap that link in the chat box here as well, and I will send that out after the show. But that's a great program that we created because we knew that as workers were displaced from hospitality and retail, they need careers to supplement the loss of that income, but we also understood the fear associated with moving into something like manufacturing that can be intimidating. So we wanted to remove all fear, so we created, again, the Manufacturing Awareness Program.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's something we're very proud of, and it was birthed right here in Clinton, Iowa, in partnership with Eastern Iowa Community College and Clinton Community College, so we continue to pound the drum on that.
That
Again,
is great.
It is
can
no
we share
cost.
that? I'm sorry, but can we share that as a great example through Future Ready Iowa?
Kathy, you know me. Share away.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. The other thing, when you talk about post-secondary and you show your numbers, now this is going to be a small percentage, but does joining the United States military count in those numbers as well, or is that not considered post-secondary education?
That's a great question. Actually, and I'm a huge advocate for that counting because I think that's a post-secondary plan that is a great option for many people. I think what they do is they have an estimate of about 2.5% maybe of the students is that's who goes that route. But I do not believe it's counted in that AEA post-secondary as an option, which I'm sure they would advocate for it to be counted, as would I. So
yeah, and as would I. So we would definitely pound that drum because you get hundreds of hours of on-the-job training, and then you also often get a credential out of it when you leave.
Exactly.
The last thing.
But you get transcripts as well. Any courses that you take in the United States military, you can wind up getting an actual, what looks like a college transcript that explains the courses you took in an equivalent in the civilian world for the credits that you would have received for it.
Yes.
Definitely something to consider. We have a strong veteran population here in Iowa. So my last thing, and you kind of alluded to this towards the end of your slide deck there, was, one of the things that I feel will be beneficial to promote the programs that are out there and also promote the program that's available within the four walls of our regional business partners is monies allotted to support the creation of digital content to promote this stuff. So video. Whether it's, posts on Facebook or Instagram. I know a lot of us, especially in the nonprofit sector, are often kind of hands are tied due to financial constraints that we don't have the ability to create this type of digital content. But if there were grants out there, monies allotted to support that, I think that would be beneficial to promote the program.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that too, because that has been one of our challenges. But one thing I do want to put out is we recently were able to hire at Iowa Workforce Development a videographer, and obviously it's not just for Future Ready Iowa, it's for so multiple big programs. But if you have ideas, he's great and he's willing to come out and shoot and then create some of those things, because that was our intent too, is we need to be on Facebook, we need to have videos, short video clips, longer video clips. So please connect with us if you have some ideas, and hopefully you will see us be able to do more of that in the future. So yes, yep.
We created this awesome video back in 2017 called Made in the Clinton Region, and we interviewed 8th grade students at the time and asked them, what is manufacturing? And they sheepishly replied, you make stuff, right? And you say, what's manufactured in Clinton? corn. That's the only thing they could come up with, right? And then we flipped the script and we took the camera out to LyondellBasell, Archer Daniels Midland, Air Control Inc., Nestle Purina, and we asked them, what do you do? And we interviewed young professionals, and that video really took off, and it was definitely something that we want to create again, highlighting our additional companies in the region.
Yeah, I love that idea. And a great point on that, because, I think we all know, but so many young people do not know what opportunities are available. They don't know what companies do, and the jobs that it takes to do that. So anything like that, I think that's awesome. And anything we can continue to do to open those doors so people can be aware, we have to do it. So. Yeah.
I geek out over content creation, so hit me up if you want to brainstorm.
Awesome.
I do have a question from Francis. Francis, if you can hear me, go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Andy and Aaron, and thank you, Kathy, for showing up. I just wanted to stress that I think it's very important we have mentorship programs with the employers. I was just at a conversation this past weekend from a retiree from John Deere who worked in Davenport, and we spoke about how corporations and large employers have a written code of conduct, but they also have an unwritten code of conduct that frequently employees who are not engaged with the workforce on a regular basis are aware of. And that, I think, is one way to retain employees long term, that there's more to maintaining a job than simply reading the what's expected of your code of conduct. There's an unwritten code of conduct that most large corporations and frequently small corporations, employers maintain. Well, I would just like to add that mentorship program, I think, would do a lot toward addressing that on an individual basis.
Very good. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions in the chat. I'm not seeing any virtual hands or physical hands raised here. I do want to give Aaron Cole a quick moment just to kind of highlight what the CRDC does in closing, and then we'll go ahead and end this bad boy and move on.
All right, thank you very much, Amy. I do want to thank Francis. He actually helped us bring Kathy in today as a guest speaker, so thank you very much for that. Thank you too, Kathy, for your time today. I certainly learned something new. I think in Clinton County here, we're doing an excellent job, as Andy mentioned, of creating some new and creative programs together with our high schools and certainly with the community college, that we're very focused on things like workforce development and getting people into good jobs so that they'll stay here and continue to thrive and grow, and our community will grow with them. So really good programming. I appreciate that, Kathy. And then for those of you who may not be that familiar with the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, we've been in this community since 1953. We are a nonprofit economic development organization, so we work very closely with the state, both on the Illinois side and on the Iowa side. So our territory crosses the Mississippi over into Fulton, Albany, and Thompson. And so it's been a pleasure for us to work with a lot of the folks who are on right now and participating today to collaborate and to come up with some great content. You know, we're very lucky to have Andy Sokolovich, who's really our techie, but it's a lot more than that. He also has a real vision for the type of content that he wants to create with his technical skills, and so we're certainly grateful for that. But our goal here, we work in four main categories. So that's workforce development is a priority, workforce attraction. So that's basically bringing new people into our community. We use the Home-Based Iowa program as an anchor for that, as well as our new student loan payback program. And then we also do business attraction, of course, trying to bring in new businesses into the community. And then, of course, business retention and expansion, which is focusing on existing companies here, helping them grow, helping them find the right workforce, and understanding what their needs are so that we could do our best to meet them moving forward. So thank you very much for participating today. And Kathy, I look forward to having a long-term relationship with you and your staff. And Andy, yes, thank you again for putting this together.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, everybody, this has been the July Clinton Region Business Roundtable. Thank you for joining me, your host, Andy Sokolovich. If you have any questions, hit me up. You guys all know me. Go ahead and just shoot me an email, shoot me a text, whatever is convenient. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.